from all the facts. I know for a fact that the earth is flat. Water cannot hold on the outside of a bone.
This guy walks up to me, looks me right in the eye, gives me one of these. He goes, you got any gum? You got any gum?
Yeah, so I asked you for some gum. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, you clicked on this video. Congratulations. I have a present for you, since you clicked on it. Press the like button to open it.
Because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes, walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring.
Is that true?
Most of you have already seen, with the intent of pointing out some of the things that we observed.
Under the Masonic moon, plans were made by the bankers in the back room. Get the president out of the way into the ocean. Under the Masonic moon, Werner von Braun and his conspirators got a free ride to the States. They turned Nazi into NASA, they just couldn't wait. Plans were made by the bankers in the back room. The owl sees into the night, and the secret will never be told. Under the Masonic moon, under the Masonic moon.
What? The Earth is flat.
The most incredible aspect of all. These totalitarian elements will not be forced upon the people. The people will demand them. For the social manipulation of society through the generation of fear and division has completely detached humans from their sense of power and reality. A process which has been going on for centuries, if not millennia. Religion, patriotism, race, wealth, class, and every other form of arbitrary, separatist identification and thus conceit has served to create a controlled population, utterly malleable in the hands of the few. Divide and conquer is the motto, and as long as people continue to see themselves as separate from everything else, they lend themselves to being completely enslaved. The men behind the curtain know this, and they also know that if people ever realize the truth of their relationship to nature and the truth of their personal power, the entire manufactured zeitgeist they prey upon will collapse like a house of cards.
The whole system that we live in drills into us that we're powerless, that we're weak, that our society is evil, that it's crime-ridden, etc., and so forth. It's all a big, fat lie. We are powerful, beautiful, extraordinary. There is no reason why we cannot understand who we truly are, where we are going. There is no reason why the average individual cannot be fully empowered. We are incredibly powerful beings.
You know, I think I spent 30 years of my life, in the first 30, trying to become something. I wanted to become good at things. I wanted to become good at tennis. I wanted to become good at school and grades and everything I kind of viewed in that perspective. I'm not okay the way I am, but if I got good at things, you realize that I had the game wrong. The game was to find out what I already was. Find out what I already was.
Now, in our culture, we've been trained for individual differences to stand out. So you look at each person, immediately it is brighter, dumber, older, younger, richer, poorer, and we make all these dimensional distinctions, put them in categories and treat them that way. And we get so that we only see others as separate from ourselves in the ways in which they're separate. And one of the dramatic characteristics of experience is being with another person and suddenly seeing the ways in which they are like you, not different from you. And experiencing the fact that which is essence in you and which is essence in me is indeed one. The understanding that there is no other. It is all one. And I wasn't born Richard Alpert. I was just born as a human being. And then I learned this whole business of who I am and whether I'm good or bad or achieving or not. All that's learned along the way.
Racial, sexual, and religious chauvinism to rabid nationalist fervor are beginning not to work. A new consciousness is developing which sees the earth as a single organism and recognizes that an organism at war with itself is doomed.
Bill Hicks used to finish his shows with this. Life's like a ride in an amusement park. And when you go on it, you think it's real, because that's how powerful our minds are. And the ride goes up and down and round and round. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored. And it's very loud, but it's fun for a while. Some have been on the ride for a long time. They begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, and they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid ever, because this is just a ride. And we kill those people. Shut him up, I've got a lot invested in this ride. Shut him up! Look at my furrows of worry. Look at my big bank account, my family. This has to be real. It's just a ride. But we'll kill those good guys and try and tell us that. You ever notice that? And let the demons run them up? But it doesn't matter, because it's just a ride, and we can change it anytime we want. It's only the choice. No effort, no work, no job, no savings of money. Just a choice right now between fear and love.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented.
20 more where that came from.
Come along, R2. Don't be so silly. You can't possibly be getting whooping cough. Droids don't get diseases like whooping cough, or measles, or polio.
See what I did? See what I said?
Come along, R2. Don't be so silly. You can't possibly...
Very flat material. Nastasia Kinski and Wesley. Very flat material. Nastasia Kinski and Wesley.
Pourquoi ne sommes-nous pas retournés sur la Lune depuis tout ce temps? Ce n'est pas une question que pose une petite fille de 8 ans, ça. C'est plutôt ma question. Je voudrais bien savoir pourquoi, mais je pense que je le sais. Parce que nous n'y sommes pas allés. C'est ça qui s'est passé.
There's no life whatever beyond the edge of the world. There's no life whatever beyond the edge of the world.
Admiral Richard Byrd explored more uncharted land than any other man in history. He was a man of action, but he was a man of thought as well, an explorer and a scientist, an adventurer and a philosopher. Is a door ajar through which one may escape from the noise and chaos of civilization into the solace and harmony of the cosmos, and for a moment be part of it.
One thing I talk about, a lot is, again, not many people have made videos on the flight simulators, and it would be completely ridiculous to have curvature, which they don't in flight simulators.
High-speed aerodynamics, aerodynamic heating, structural design, aircraft stability, and control in space and re-entry. This was the kind of information it was to provide, and provided it did. Here's the story.
To check out the air.
something's going on here that we are not being told about.
What's...
But
I played the fool.
It's funded by a certain group of people.
But also new water. Now water, that was a major task. One of my tasks, water management. I had to deal with all the use of water on board. Now water is very precious. It takes a lot of money to launch something into space. So we want to recycle as much as possible. So all the humidity in the air, from our breath, from sweating, wet towels, all the humidity in the air is
We're gonna do a song, kids. But the point of this,
Sure.
it's
like it?
funded.
This was a small hit.
It's funded.
What? The Earth is flat.
That's just the way it is.
We only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on Space Station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
And this is really the beginning, I think, of
Welcome to the show where you don't know if it's part of the show. Welcome to the show if you don't know it's part of the show. And they teach you to reach for the stars while opening up the bars and keeping you chained down with mortgage bills and cars. Vaccines for your arms, kids sounding like supercharged. Caffeinated hate-filled stars, the rage quit is repertoire. No answers for yards, caught up in emotion, not right yard. Hanging cards, it's like so long, it seems like for love. I'm just too high, I'm just too high. You can say the lot, welcome beyond. Where you don't know if it's part of the show. Welcome to the show. If you don't Intoxicated ape makes you believe you're spinning in space while you have no shame or grace. It's a disdainful state I used to contemplate how to save myself from my own self-hate. Wonder why I was even made with a dreadful fate, forced to try and awake with a full plate. No one to help me stay awake or educate. I got to liberate and fight through hidden gates. But my brother, heaven could never be late, and rockets don't work in space. It's all fake. The show is on Mars, it's a joke, but you're too far gone, it won't be long. Pepe's beak is strong. We have our sun and we march along like streams of knowledge leading to God's holy pond, and lives of truth that hits the bong and sings the song, turns mankind from the wrong. We come in peace with a holy gown, and all of us wearing our holy crowns. So the earth is flat and we probably just won't get along. Just to go along, I said, welcome to the show where you don't know if it's part of the show.
Jah Rastafari. Them lie, I them lie, I them lie, I them lie. Lord them lie, lie. Face them lie, lie. Spin them lie, lie. Herb them lie, lie. I them lie, lie. Kneel them lie, girl them lie, all them lie, lie. Why them lie, I them lie, lie. Why them lie. Globe them lie, space them lie, spin them lie, curve them lie, why them lie, lie. Why them lie, curve them lie, spin them lie, globe them lie, space them lie, lie.
There's no life whatever beyond the edge of the world.
On this expedition, we hope to fly across the South Pole into the mysterious land beyond to see what is there.
To the cameramen who made this picture, I want to give full credit. They did not hesitate to risk their lives at their job. Now, the North Pole is the center of a deep ocean, whereas the South Pole is the center of a high plateau which averages 7,000 or 8,000 feet in altitude. There's no life whatever beyond the edge of the world. There's no life whatever beyond the edge of the world. There's no life whatever beyond the edge of the world. There are no Eskimos. It is too cold for human beings to live there permanently. When we left on this expedition, we were, to put it very mildly, extremely anxious to find out if it existed. Would we be able to find it? As we started alongside the barrier with our ships, suddenly the edge
thing he called a cotton gin. His name was Whitney, and they called him a crackpot, too. And they said the same thing about a man called Watty. And before that, there was a man who thought the world was round.
That we have Roundup facing us next week, and you talk to me about windmills.
Yes, windmills. And you know as well as I that it'll take a miracle to get the water up on that north section, and Fairbanks Windmill might be it.
Fairbanks Windmill. All this man has is a theory. We know nothing about him or his reputation. Now, you can't leave us short-handed just to go to talk to a man who's probably a crackpot.
Crackpot?
Yes, crackpot.
A long time ago, a man fooled around with a thing he called a cotton gin. His name was Whitney, and they called him a crackpot, too. And they said the same thing about a man called Watt, until his steam engine made history. And before that, there was a man who thought the world was round.
You missed one.
The earth is flat, living in illusion. The earth
So how do we know the Earth is not flat?
We don't. It's flat. That whole area is called the Mediterranean. Well, Mediterranean translates to Middle Earth. The people lived there were sure they were in the middle of the Earth. That can only be true if you think Earth is flat. Well, we have many lines of evidence to show that Earth is round, including Apollo photos of the round Earth.
If you want to get into it, the Earth isn't quite a sphere. It's a little bleh. Its spin is a little bleh, stretched it, made it slightly oblate.
So it's not actually a sphere. 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 It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it.
And you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
The world is flat. And it's a conspiracy of scientists and others who published these pictures where the world was round.
The world is flat. And it's a conspiracy of scientists and others who published these pictures.
Really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go. There's no place to throw your trash. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe not you, but your kids develop ways to mine our landfills. We throw away so much valuable stuff right now, especially raw materials. I may be wrong, of course. Always may be wrong. AD.
Hello, fellas. Everybody's here. Freddie, Tom, good to see you, Mike.
How are you, Mo?
But flat plane is where we've been teaching from. The flat plane is endless. It's an infinite plane that we're on, and we're just sectioned off. There are many different sections, different what we call cones or qualifications of life in different sections. And our section over here, this one that we call Earth, is within its own cocoon. It has its own programming, and we're sharing this particular prison planet, actually, at this point. This is a very, very hostile place. We've chosen to be here, and we're doing a lot of work to bring peace to this particular part of this existence. But flat Earth, that's something that I had put off because I didn't think people were ready for it.
You've been talking about that a long time.
Yeah, so
They ready now.
That just gets us ready to go, and we want to be healthy, of course, and especially when you're going for these 6 to 7.
Unless the world is flat.
I think we should go with a good old-fashioned public health scare.
A new disease. No one's immune. It's like the summer of the shark, except instead of a shark, it's an epidemic. And instead of summer, it's all the time.
Come up with the next phony baloney crisis to put Americans back where they belong.
Don't mind. They're not going to believe what just happened.
Smartest thing to say is you don't understand. We have to be strong and have a plan, but never be a rude. How about you? Why are they always killing we? Said that we don't do nothing but recite history. Then we conquer all and them to be. So the well I move with the oneness they can't comprehend. Divine instruction manifest their end. No one can stop it, we don't pretend. The earth is screaming, I descend. Upon creation we set global trends. Originality is my weapon. Show them they know it's from creation. So easy as a moving seed and the stem, yo. Creation is a mystery for man. Smartest thing to say is you don't understand. Man was meant to walk this land. Yeah, creation is a mystery for man. Smartest thing you can ever say is you don't understand. Creation is a mystery for man. Smartest thing to say is you don't understand. Man was meant to walk this land. Yeah, creation is a mystery for man. Smartest thing.
Torch souls and I heard cries. Beautiful skies catching the flight of butterflies where creation lies by the skies defies sunny rise international wise guys. And it ruined me how they doing our community to keeping us divided, cause the real key is unity. See, it's the you and me that truly be moving me. Understand it to learn and know what real freedom could truly be. Liberation, desperation, so even waiting fix for reparation of one united Latin nation. No information and delegation, cause y'all been faking, see our times are wasting, and we've been craving some new creation. A final destination for we to be free.
A carpenter uses it to measure a horizontal plane.
Don't crush this fist, defending this mind that is entwined with this shit.
Creation is a mystery for man. Smartest thing to say is you don't understand. Man was made
every day.
And everyone watches that.
Flash the light, the moment of creation. I'll be that spark to
Flat Earth.
Flat Earth theory.
Einstein said it himself. The babies came out ridiculous. Around to hate it. My mixture painted dark picture, hence I'm discriminated. Somehow I made it evaded, self-destruction laid into the culture invaded, aiding my healing process of training. I'm training anyway, banging the pots and pains. Purple haze and lost days, the discipline missing the action, aim it to maintain. Need to re-evolve my passion, watching my heroes erupted my fame to your face. No pretense for rejects, now eject the tape.
Alien invasion. A one world government. Once you go flat, you never go back. Ladder. Once you go flat, you never go back. Ladder. Look into it. Once you go flat, you never go back. Ladder. Yeah. Once you go flat, you never go back. Ladder. Look into it.